I have watched Spider-Man 3 again. I have examined it, I have pondered it, and to be honest, my opinions on this film haven't really changed all that much. I'm going to be as fair with this movie as humanly possible, but please don't expect a lot of positivity on my part. That being said, let us sadly revisit the final film in the Raimiverse, Spider-Man 3. Just like the last film, Sony immediately began production on a sequel once Spider-Man 2 wrapped production. After Spider-Man 2's release, Ivan Raimi, brother of director Sam Raimi, wrote a treatment for the third film over a 2-month period based on what Sam wanted the third film to focus on. Raimi inevitably wanted to bring Harry Osborn back, but unlike what happened in the finished product, Raimi wanted Osborn to be conflicted about fighting his best friend and becoming a new Goblin. He would be somewhere in the middle. Raimi also wanted Sandman in the picture as the main antagonist, as he was one of his favorite villains from childhood, describing him as a visually fascinating character. Being nothing more than a common thief in the comics, Raimi made Sandman the actual killer of Uncle Ben in this version, as he felt this would end with Peter's journey of forgiveness coming full circle. Don't worry, I'll be addressing this later, as this is the only Raimi contribution that truly sucked. To fight alongside Sandman, Raimi wanted to bring in the Vulture, and Ben Kingsley was all set to play the character. That would have been awesome. But unfortunately, this is where everything with this movie began to go to shit. Avi Arad didn't want the Vulture in the film, and wanted to use Venom as a secondary villain instead. Raimi has gone on record in saying that he hates the character of Venom, mainly because of his lack of humanity. Well, based on what Raimi wanted to do with this film, Venom straight didn't fit into it. Venom doesn't have humanity, and Raimi wanted Peter Parker to see the humanity in the villains he pursues. These two things do not go together. After a lot of fighting with Avi Arad and Sony Studios, Raimi was pressured until he was unfortunately forced to include Venom in the new installment. Avi Arad said that Venom was a fan favorite, and that was the character we all wanted to see. Avi Arad, fuck you. Speaking as a fan, and for all the fans out there, we do not want Venom. We want Venom done right. And with the story that Sam and Ted Raimi had already come up with, there was virtually no chance of Venom working correctly. It was because of Avi Arad and the studio that Spider-Man 3 was turned into a complete fucking mess in the final rewrite. But Venom wasn't the only thing they forced Raimi and Alvin Sargent to include. They wanted them to introduce Gwen Stacy and Captain Stacy the fuck out of nowhere and stick them into this already clusterfucked mess of a screenplay, feeling that they were also fan favorites so we would want to see them. Sony Studios? Fuck you. We do not want Gwen Stacy and Captain Stacy. We want Gwen Stacy and Captain Stacy done right. And if they have no place in this story, which they don't, they shouldn't fucking be here. You can't just say, oh look, here's this character, and then leave it alone. If they don't serve a purpose other than to be exposition whores and plot devices, don't fucking use them. Sony also made Raimi scrap the idea of Harry Osborn being on the fence about his Goblin legacy, erasing all his conflict and just making the character a bad guy who gets amnesia. Sony Studios, fuck you! We don't want New Goblin, we want New Goblin done right, and fuck it. Soon the script and all these new ideas that had almost nothing to do with Raimi's original vision were sent to Alvin Sargent, who had to find a way to mesh all of this together. He found difficulty doing this, I can't imagine why, and at one point considered splitting it into 2 films. However, when Sargent's idea reached the studio, they said no, mainly because Sargent couldn't give them a good enough climax for the end of the first film. Oh, we will so be talking about this later. So soon, casting began, which included Ron Howard's hot daughter as Gwen Stacy, Zefram Cochrane as Captain Stacy, and that dude from Sideways as Sandman. Thus, Spider-Man 3 was made. Yeah, in case you haven't guessed, I don't like this one. I mean, there are a couple small little decent things scattered throughout this mess, but nothing that warrants giving this film a positive review. Okay, so what happens in this film? What doesn't happen in this film? They got enough bullshit in here to fill 3 other films. I originally wanted to do an epic film fill for this with R.L. King, who I'm pretty sure hates the movie more than I do, but looking back on it, what can I say about this movie that hasn't been said by everyone else? Doing this review was a massive challenge because of that. Not to mention, RL isn't really doing a lot of reviews anymore, so the wait would probably be longer than my Thor the Dark World review. It's coming, I swear! However, reviewing this film like I did the other 2 Spider-Man films is gonna be way too damn difficult, because so much random shit does happen in this film that reviewing this mess could most likely turn my review into a mess. So I'm faced with a difficult task. How can I review this without sounding like everyone else who has picked this movie apart in the past, and how do I not review it straightforward without this review turning into a mess? Well, a lot of you have been asking for more of these, so might as well go back to the well. Here are the top 13 reasons Spider-Man 3 sucks. Surprise! Number 13. The lather, rinse, repeat formula. This is a formula that plagues movies that have way too much stuff going on, and it occurs when filmmakers decide to jam-pack their films so full of crap that they have no idea what to do with half of the crap. So filmmakers will show something, get it out of the movie until they hit a roadblock later on, and then bring it up again so they can pretend as if they know what they're doing. Show, set aside, show again. Lather, rinse, repeats. A formula that remains a true testament to bad writing. This is something that plagues Spider-Man 3 throughout its runtime, up until the final climax where everything with this formula ceases and just turns into a clusterfuck. For example, first we focus on Peter and Mary Jane. We throw that to the sidelines to focus on Flint Marko. We throw that to the sidelines to focus on Harry being the Goblin. Harry gets amnesia so we can focus on this douche. Then we go back to Peter and Mary Jane. Then back to Harry. Then on to Flint Marko, who is now the Sandman. Then back to this douche. Then on to Gwen Stacy for absolutely no reason. Then back to Peter and Mary Jane. Then back to Harry. Then back to Marko. Then back to this douche. And my God! It just keeps going in that same repetitive bullshit formula. It never takes a break, it never stays focused, and never once is there anything resembling a cohesive narrative. Instead of saving all this random-ass shit that can easily cover at least 3 other movies for other films, they just jam-pack all this bullshit in here and expect us not to know that this was a lazily written piece of crap. Sony made Sam Raimi and Alvin Sargent cram all of this in here, and my God does it show. Now, throwing in many characters and villains into one movie can work if you develop the arc in a way that is coherent. For example, in a much better movie, Batman Returns, we saw the development of the characters Penguin, Catwoman, Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Max Schreck, but that movie didn't need to stuff any of them in a corner just to use them as needed either. Their characters and stories are all being developed simultaneously in one overarching tale, therefore having each character keep our attention while still maintaining a coherent balance. Spider-Man 3 does not develop all these characters throughout the course of one overarching tale. It in fact doesn't develop the characters at all, and instead opts to throw characters away and focus on others just to bring those characters back around again. It's because of this jumbled mess of a structure that the very message of the film gets lost in translation. The film was, I guess, trying to be about leaning against revenge and learning the value of forgiveness. That's a great message for a Spider-Man movie, but this plot and lack of coherency doesn't do that message any sort of justice. Number 12. Mary Jane being a dumb, self-righteous bitch. Now, I will say one good thing about Kirsten Dunst in this movie. She can sing.
They say that falling in love is wonderful.
She actually has a lovely singing voice. I don't care much for her acting, but her singing isn't half bad. And when I saw that in the beginning, I said to myself, you know what? They really dropped the ball with this character in the past. But maybe now I'll be able to see a new side of the character that I have not seen before. Kids, be careful what you wish for. I wish I'd been. Not only was that the only good scene with Mary Jane throughout the entire movie, but the rest of the movie is just her either being a complete bitch or a total moron. It all begins when her performance gets bad reviews, which I'm calling bullshit on, because if she could sing that good, bad reviews would be non-existent. Oh, I guess that's why the audience was applauding her after 10 whole seconds of her arriving on stage. I'm not stupid! She tells Peter about it, he tries to make her feel better, and all she does is treat him like crap.
You are great. That's a critic. This is something you're gonna have to get used to. Believe me, I know. Spider-Man gets attacked all the time.
This isn't about you. This is about me. It's about my career.
I know, and I'm just saying you can't let it bring you down. You just gotta believe in yourself, and you pull yourself together, you get right back on the horse, and...
Don't give me the horse thing. Try and understand how I feel.
He is understanding how you feel, you fucking idiot. That's why he's comparing the criticism in your review to the criticisms he gets every day as Spider-Man. He understands! Did the person writing this film forget what they wrote 2 seconds ago? Oh. Sorry. I just got some Mortal Instrument flashbacks. Let's just continue. Get that out of my brain, please. This bitchy mode of hers is kept throughout most of the movie, almost never wavering. In fact, there is only one scene where her being a bitch is justified. And we'll get to that in the number 11 spot. But the crowning achievement of dumbassery comes when Harry gets his memory back and threatens her to break up with Peter, or he will kill Peter. Okay, not only does this not make any sense given that he was planning to kill Peter anyway, but see, it makes even less sense when you factor in that, well, Mary Jane knows that he's Spider-Man! She knows that he deals with shit like this on a regular basis. It comes with the territory. Moron, instead of following this idiot's plan, how about going to Peter and saying, hey, Harry remembers who you are. He threatened me. He wants to kill you. He tried to kill me. Go kick his ass. He's right over there. What was stopping you? Hello, compared to a guy dressed like a bad Power Rangers pun and a mad scientist with mechanical octopus arms, I think Harry is much less of a threat than they were. Good fucking God, grow a brain! Mary Jane was always a completely unproductive, inactive character that only existed for Peter to save and would prove to be the same in this film later on, but my God, this is the first time where I found this character to be completely insufferable.
This isn't about you. This is about me.
Number 11. Peter kissing Gwen Stacy. Yeah, remember when I said there was only one instance where Mary Jane being a total bitch was completely justified? This is what I was talking about.
Go ahead, lay one on me.
Really?
Yeah, they'll love it.
All right.
I hope Pete's getting a shot of this.
Asshole? Why would you do that? Not only is this contrived bullshit to make Mary Jane an even bigger bitch than she was before, this is completely out of character for Peter. Why would Peter kiss this girl at the obvious risk of losing Mary Jane, the woman he has fought tooth and nail to be with over the course of 2.5 movies at this point? This doesn't make sense, it just makes Peter look like an asshole. You can't even make the argument that maybe he didn't know she would be watching. He told her where to fucking look!
Hey, I'm gonna be swinging in from over there.
Oh, yeah.
So you know where to look.
He wanted her to see this? He wanted her to see him kissing another woman? What a douche!
No, Spider-Man, no!
Number 10. Gwen Stacy being railroaded into the plot for no reason. Now, for those of you who are unaware, my favorite female character in the entire Spider-Man mythos is Gwen Stacy. She is smart, proactive, interesting, and just an all-around great character. I'm sorry, Mary Jane sucks, Gwen Stacy's where it's at. Even in Ultimate Spider-Man, where Mary Jane was more of a proactive character, to an extent anyway, Brian Michael Bendis reworked Gwen in a way that ultimately still made her more interesting than Mary Jane, or any other love interest for that matter. Adam J. He hearts Gwen Stacy. However, Adam J. does not heart whoever the fuck this was supposed to be.
Pete, if you've got a picture of my kiss with Spider-Man, could you bring it to class? I'd really love it.
Oh my god! Were they even trying? She doesn't act the part, and the character is totally backwards. The reason Peter and Gwen had a relationship in the first place is because they share a unique intelligence and a massive love for science. It is what attracts Gwen to Peter and vice versa. Here, Gwen Stacy is portrayed as a fucking airhead who, by her own admission, would be failing college without his help.
Pete's something of a genius. I'd be completely lost without him.
Because, of course, we don't need this character to be done right at all, we just need to slap her on screen with no understanding of why she's a good character. Just make her a brainless model for Spider-Man to save, for Peter Parker to use to make Mary Jane jealous later on, and for Eddie Brock to feel tortured. Because the story that character had in the comics wasn't dark and traumatizing enough, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Gwen Stacy is nothing more than a cheap plot device in this, rather than a character. She exists only to force more random crap into the plot, and in retrospect, is completely unnecessary. To see one of my favorite Spider-Man characters portrayed this way breaks my goddamn heart. More so than Venom, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
I'm so sorry.
Number 9. The crane scene. This is a scene where I just have to go note by note and do fucking bullet points with because there is too much wrong with this damn scene.
Okay, Gwen, I've got a secret. It's my copier. What is that thing doing in my background?
Wow, it's funny how you complain about that thing being in your background before that thing is even in your fucking background! Gwen Stacy is a supermodel instead of an intelligent science major. That hurts. Wow, so the bar moving at about 2 miles per hour on the crane managed to take out an entire level of the building. Congratulations on your failure of physics, I can't wait to see more.
Who are you? It's Brock, sir. Edward Brock Jr.
Topher Grace is Eddie Brock. More on that later.
Oh my god, that's Gwen. What? What's she doing up there?
Yeah. Let's try that reaction again, shall we?
Oh my god, that's Gwen. What?
What? Oh my god! My baby is in trouble! I don't care what needs to be done! Someone get to my baby girl now! Save her! Save my daughter! No! Baby, I'm coming for you! That would be a more typical and realistic fatherly reaction to this situation. But instead, all we get is this.
What's she doing up there?
I'm not an expert, but, I'm gonna say trying not to fall to her certain doom. Moron? I mean, a little compassion wouldn't kill ya. It's your fucking daughter up there! Yeah, bullshit! Out of control or not, the crane was moving in a completely different direction earlier and was in a much higher location, so it going up the building now doesn't make any damn sense. But hey, we need an excuse for Spider-Man to save her, so fuck continuity, who needs it, right?
Now on, I am going to be taking shots at you for the bugle. So, smile. Are you smiling? Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Topher. You keep talking, but all I'm seeing is this.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about that anymore, buddy.
Where are you going? You still have a crane to stop! Didn't you come here to stop an out-of-control crane? No, he didn't. He came here so that he could give Eric Foreman, Zephyrin Cochran, and Ron Howard's hot daughter more screen time.
You know what? You're bold. I'm very mad at you!
In other words, it was a waste of time and annoying as fuck. He just goes away, doesn't even think about the crane that is out of control, and while we're on the subject, why is everyone applauding? Did we just forget about the people that were hit with the falling debris? I'm sure there are a lot of dead people on the ground. Should we acknowledge that? No. Why? Because the movie doesn't care. So why should we? Let's move on. Number 8. Sandman's transformation scene. Or more so, the events leading up to it. But yeah, this is another fucking scene where I just gonna go point by point here, guys. First of all, these scientists are doing an experiment on sand. What's the experiment for? It's never addressed. Apparently, the whole thing was set up to make sand move in a circular motion for no reason. Until Marco arrived, they didn't have anything in the reactor for the sand to react with. So what was the experiment for? Were they just banking something would jump in there at the most convenient time possible for them to do anything relevant? I'm not stupid! Second, Flip Marco just happens to climb over a fence into the facility. Because it's not like a top secret military experiment would be guarded by, well, guards and possibly a thick wall to prevent people from trespassing. Third, instead of climbing over the fence like Marco was easily able to do with no problem, the cops try to find a way around the fence. Yeah, why is it every time I see that scene I'm constantly reminded of this? Fourth, when Marco falls in the reactor, the scientists have this reaction.
Situation on 1.
There's a change in the silicon mass.
It's probably a bird. It'll fly away when we fire it up.
Wow. Wow. You know, I gotta tell you, if an airplane pilot detected something by the turbines before takeoff, I really fucking hope he wouldn't assume it was just a bird. How about checking that shit out? Not to mention, you're supposed to be smart scientists, right? So how do you mistake the mass of a big burly ass convict with the mass of a goddamn bird? Ew! These are highly funded government scientists? Jesus Christ! No wonder our fucking economy's in the toilet! Now, to be fair, when Marco is transformed, I will admit the effect is pretty creepy. Seeing him scream as he dissolves into sand for the first time is a cool image. But even cooler is the image of him trying to regroup himself in the sand later on. I'll admit that scene was fine and I was really enjoying the visual. Up until I saw the locket. Yeah, evidently Marco's clothes, belt buckle, and steel-toe boots were dissolved into sand, but not the locket for some reason.
What does it matter to you anyway?
Number 7. Sandman's daughter having no payoff. This was the only thing keeping me somewhat invested in this otherwise badly written character. And I say somewhat invested because while I do understand why he would rob banks to get money for his daughter's never explained, so insert whatever the fuck you want here disease, he goes about it in the dumbest way possible. Yeah, I needed money bad, and was eventually caught after robbing underground wrestling. Not a bank. Underground wrestling is where the real money is. Fuck yeah! Wow. Yeah, we'll go back to this later. For now, let's focus on the daughter. It's revealed in Marco's intro scene that he has a sick daughter that he hasn't seen for years and was sent to prison after stealing money for her, I guess, operation? I don't fucking know. They never explain what she has, what her true condition is. They just say that she's his sick daughter. But I will admit, while the scene with Marco and his wife was fucking annoying, the scene with him and his daughter was very heartfelt. You got the sense that he truly cared about his daughter and that despite the things he did, his daughter still loves him. This is a very nice scene.
I missed you.
I miss you too, Daddy.
Promise. I'll make you healthy again. Whatever it takes.
So it's so wonderful to know that this plot point is never resolved! They show this whole scene just to introduce this plot point, and still, it has no payoff. They show us the locket to constantly remind us that he has a sick daughter, and still, there's no payoff. He says at the end of the movie that the only thing that still matters to him is his daughter, and still, there's no fucking payoff! My god, what was the point of this? Again, this isn't real sympathy, it's artificial sympathy. It's just there to give our villain some sort of motive and story arc that never resolves itself, and ultimately just wastes our fucking time. This is not a story, this is not a character, this is the definition of fucking time filler.
I'm not a bad person.
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
Number 6. Harry Osborn. Just Harry Osborn. Most everything done with this character in Spider-Man 3 is stupid. We first see Harry on the balcony overlooking Mary Jane's performance and giving Peter an evil smile that only a twirly mustache villain could love.
So they say.
I will kill him! I need to talk to you. Explain things.
Tell it to my father. Raise him from the dead.
Yeah, it's been a while since then. I mean, it's been enough time for Mary Jane's face to go from being plastered all over the city to her having third billing in a musical, so, I mean, I'm guessing about a year. How have you not talked about this yet? This isn't even just Harry, it's Peter too. Moron, he knows you're Spider-Man and thinks you killed his father. So I think talking to him about this should have been priority number 1 after the last film. You dumbass! Oh, and Harry, if you want your father avenged and you know Peter is Spider-Man, why don't you just use your power and expose him? You know the head of the Daily Bugle hates Spider-Man. He'd eat this story up in a heartbeat. But whatever. Harry, in the span of a year, has managed to invent his own glider, and because the original Goblin mask wasn't insulting enough, he now wears a paintball mask. Oh great, so he went from a Power Ranger villain to an actual Power Ranger. Top notch, guys! It's also pretty funny how Harry flunked out of so many schools, and yet has the knowledge to invent these things. It's just kind of weird. And inconsistent. Harry steps into the chamber and takes the same performance-enhancing formula his father took, and it doesn't make him crazy for some reason. Why? Care to explain that one, movie? We know this stuff makes you crazy. Why isn't Harry crazy? Really? Nothing? Okay, we'll just move on. Harry attacks Peter, and I'll be fair, the action scene here was the most fun I had in the entire movie. It is a well-shot action scene, because to Raimi's credit, he knows how to shoot action well. While I was a bit riveted by this scene, it's what the scene ultimately leads into that fucking kills it for me.
He's gotta be okay. But there's been some memory impairment, particularly short-term memory. Right now, he can't remember the accident or anything that happened to him recently.
Yes! Harry has amnesia, because the movie needs to shove him away in the closet so it can focus on a million other pointless things. It couldn't just make him the main villain and maybe focus on Venom and the symbiote in the sequel. Oh, fuck no. Let's just give Harry a big bump on the head for now. It's not like this is the most overused, insulting soap opera cop-out in existence. Fuck this. Oh, and it's not even that he gets amnesia. He conveniently remembers nothing past his father dying. Oh, but wait! It gets better! He remembers his father dying, but doesn't remember that he blamed Spider-Man for it. Oh, what are the odds? Now, if they were doing this for a purpose, it could have worked. If they had Harry maybe faking the amnesia in order to get close to Peter and take him out when he least expected it, that would have been awesome and downright diabolical. But no, we don't get that. We just get this character shoved into a closet for most of the movie until the movie runs out of ideas and needs him again. But wait! It gets better! When the movie finally does need him again, and the amnesia wears off, he threatens Mary Jane to break up with Peter. Because, you know, it's not like he could just go to Peter's rat hole apartment and kill him when he's on the crapper or something. Or, I don't know, maybe reveal that Peter is Spider-Man to the public, like a smart person would do. So when Mary Jane follows this obviously retarded plan and reveals to Peter that she's in love with someone else, Peter goes to Harry for comfort, and Harry reveals that he's the other guy.
I'm the other guy. What? She came to me one afternoon troubled. She needed someone and I was there for her.
Is anyone buying this? It's bad enough Mary Jane went along with this stupid plan, but couldn't she just call Peter later and be like, oh, I didn't mean it, Harry is evil, kick his ass please? I know I'm reiterating what I said earlier, but my god, it's that stupid! So Peter buys into this for a little bit, until he confronts Harry in his mansion, and ultimately throws a grenade in his face. This doesn't kill him, but guess what? It does get him out of the movie again! You know, so that the movie can focus on a million other things it doesn't need to. Again. Then when the plot needs him again, he ends up teaming with Peter for incredibly contrived reasons that I'll mention in the number 4 spot, and ends up getting killed. Now, technically, Harry dying could have worked. It really could have worked. Mainly because of how he dies in the movie. Let me ask you this. How did his father die? Norman Osborn was impaled by his own glider trying to kill Spider-Man. Harry was impaled by his own glider, saving Spider-Man's life. It was a way for them to bring the Goblin legacy full circle and have Harry redeem not just himself, but his father as well. The reason this doesn't work is because there is no lead up to it! If they had gone with Raimi's original concept of Harry being in the middle, conflicted with avenging his father and hurting his best friend, this would have been the perfect ending to Harry's story. But I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways here. You can either make this character an actual character with conflict or make him time filler. You made him time filler. You did not lead up to this. You did not allude to this. You don't get to do this. Fuck you, movie. Number 5. This scene. Oh my god, what the hell am I watching? Why is this in a Spider-Man movie? This is not developing the characters, this is not moving the story along, this isn't even charming, this is just time filler. Nothing else to say about it, it's just Harry and Mary Jane dancing around like jackasses and wasting our time. So, I won't waste any more of your time talking about it. Next scene. Number 4. The butler scene. Now, Bernard is Harry's butler, played by Bill Paxton's kick-ass dad, John Paxton. So at the end of this film, when Peter comes to Harry for help, he says no until... Just fucking show it.
The night your father died, I cleaned his wound. The blade that pierced his body came from his glider. I know you're trying to defend your father's honor, but there's no question that he died by his own hand.
You fucking asshole! You knew this the whole time and didn't say anything? Are you shitting me? You could have saved people time, resources, and you probably could have saved lives just by telling Harry the truth from the get-go. I mean, you went out of your way to say this to him in the second movie.
I'm leaving for the night, sir.
Fine.
Your father only obsessed over his work.
Good night, Bernard.
Yeah! You noticed how obsessed he was over killing Spider-Man. Dude, all you had to do was open your mouth, my God! Now, there was originally a reason for this that was cut out at the last minute, but ultimately could have redeemed this and made it something meaningful. The original idea for this character was to have Bernard be a figment of Harry's imagination. Bernard was originally intended to be the part of Harry's mind that would not let him realize that his father killed himself. And it would make sense that Harry was the one who cleaned his father's wound, since he was the one who found the body. That's a fucking ingenious idea! Not only is it original, it's very thought-provoking, and would have instilled Harry with the concept of denial, not being able to accept who his father was or what his father did, and that Spider-Man was indeed innocent. I would have loved to see that, and the movie would have been all the better for it. Hell, I probably would have let the amnesia bullshit go. It's that fucking cool of an idea. But no, they didn't do that. Bernard is instead a real person, which is made evident when he reacts with Harry and Peter in an earlier scene, who could have just opened his mouth and made this whole thing go away. Number 3. Sandman being Uncle Ben's killer. Yes, this is the only contribution from Sam Raimi that I will admit truly sucked. It was his idea to challenge the simplicity of Uncle Ben's death by having Sandman be the actual killer of Uncle Ben. Yeah, there's one little problem with that. Play the clip.
Stay back. Hey, stay back. Stay back.
My uncle! What happened?
Carjacker, he's been shot. Look, we just called the paramedics. They're on their way.
Yes, they know it was a carjacking, which obviously means they saw it happen. They saw the shooting and the guy getting away in the car, and yet none of them saw the big burly guy walking away with the murder weapon? Sorry, I'm not buying it. And by the way, does ballistics exist in this movie's own little world? Because if it did, they could have easily matched up this guy's gun to the bullet that killed Uncle Ben. They should have known from the get-go if this guy was the real killer or not. Do cops do their fucking jobs in this universe? Well, evidently not, because even though they managed to tie Flint Marko to the Ben Parker homicide months ago, they waited until he escaped from prison to tell Peter and Aunt May. Good fucking God! No wonder this city needs Spider-Man. Apparently every cop and scientist there is a goddamn retard.
Fortunately, we're lousy cops.
Oh, but it gets better! At the end, Sandman reveals that it was all an accident, and that he didn't mean to shoot Uncle Ben. And, you know what's funny? I think this monologue was just written by Sam Raimi as an apology to all the fans.
I didn't want this.
But I had no choice. Did a terrible thing to you. I spent a lot of nights wishing I could take it back. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just want you to understand.
Now, you'd think Spidey would try to have him answer for his crimes like a good hero would do, but no, he just kind of takes his word for it and forgives him, letting him go. Yeah, there's no payoff with the daughter in this movie, and Sam Raimi had no intention of bringing this character back, so I'm just gonna fucking assume he's off to rob some more banks. I mean, how else is he gonna get the money to save his daughter? I mean, if Harry hadn't died, you could have asked him. He could have probably given you some money for that. You know, this is all about forgiveness and understanding. You could have worked that in there somehow. But no, you're not going to do that. You just kill Harry and, you know, Sandman just goes away to rob banks and shit. And yeah, it's all Spider-Man's fault. Give this moron a fucking round of applause. I know this goes back to the concept of forgiveness, but I'm sorry, there's a limit. You do not just assume the guy who killed your uncle is telling you the truth and then let him go without so much as batting an eyelash. Bullshit! There's being forgiving and then there's just being stupid, and Peter Parker is clearly just stupid. It was just a cheap excuse to tie this villain to our hero. It was lazy, it was asinine, it was beyond forced, and it certainly earns its place in the number 3 spot. Number 2. Eddie Brock and Venom. Now, before I go into this, let me give you a little background on Eddie Brock's character. I have a point to make, I swear. In the comics, Eddie Brock was a guy who ran into a stream of bad luck. And when I say bad, I mean bad. He was far from perfect, but he wasn't a lying dick either. Eddie Brock, in fact, has one of the most depressing backstories in the history of comic books. His string of bad luck starts when a man claiming to be the notorious killer the Sin Eater contacts him. However, when Brock writes an expose on this man, it doesn't take long for Spider-Man to capture the real Sin Eater, resulting in Brock being fired and disgraced. He didn't lie, he wasn't dishonest, he was just given bad information and suffered for it. He was a victim of circumstance. Soon after, Eddie's wife divorced him, his own father severed all ties with him, and he was ultimately forced to work for tabloid magazines in shame. He blamed Spider-Man for capturing the real Sin Eater, but his blaming of Spider-Man was mainly a way of coping with his severe depression. And when he started to feel good about himself, when he started weightlifting and getting in shape, when he started to take back his life, he found out he had fucking cancer. Good fucking God! No, wait! There's more! Eddie Brock was contemplating suicide at this point, and really, who could blame him? I'd probably think of swallowing a bullet myself if I suffered through half the crap this poor bastard went through. However, this led to him going to a church, ultimately begging God for forgiveness. But of course, this was the same time that Spider-Man was removing the symbiote, and it didn't take long for the alien life form to find its way to Eddie. Feeling absolute rejection, the symbiote sought revenge on Spider-Man through Eddie Brock, and Brock's coping mechanism of blaming Spider-Man became something very literal. The symbiote was a way for Eddie to take back his life after everything he'd gone through. There was meaning behind Venom. There was a meaning behind the bond that Eddie Brock shared with the symbiote. It made someone who had become powerless and on the verge of suicide into a strong warrior, and he called himself Venom because that is what he was being forced to spew out to the public at the time. Now, how does this movie handle this character? He fakes a picture of Spider-Man robbing a bank and gets fired for it. Then he blames Peter not just for that, but for stealing a woman that wasn't even his. He had coffee with her one time and talked about her as if he wanted to marry her.
Sir, I have a girl that I intend to marry.
Then he goes to the church just like in the comics, but instead of begging God for forgiveness, what does he say?
I come before you today, humbled and humiliated to ask you for one thing. I want you to kill Peter Parker.
Fuck you, movie. Fuck you! He's talking to God, not the Godfather. This is not a character with a depressing backstory anymore. This is not a villain I can sympathize for. This is just a creepy, dishonest jerk putting the blame on everyone but himself. Where is the emotional connection? There is none. He just gets the suit and vows revenge. There's no talk of his addiction to the suit. There's no talk of what the suit does to him. And you can't even make the argument that the suit makes him a bad person or makes him do bad things. He was a bad person doing bad things before he got the damn suit. I can't believe how badly they botched this character. Now, I don't blame Topher Grace for this. He was seriously miscasted, and the way they had him play the character was nothing short of obnoxious. I couldn't fucking care less that he's too small and scrawny to be Venom. I could care less about that. I care that he acts nothing like Eddie Brock. If they had done that, gotten the character down in personality, I could have easily gotten over the actor's size. Wolverine is 5'3" in the comics, but a 6'5" actor does a great job playing him, so whatever. Hell, he doesn't even call himself Venom, nor does he even speak like Venom. Venom always speaks as two people, because it's two separate personalities sharing the same thoughts. The personality of Eddie Brock and the personality of the symbiote.
Oh, you don't need to wear a mask with us, Peach. We know all your secrets. Because, of course, we were you.
The symbiote. I destroyed you.
Did you really think a little refrigeration would do us in?
You ensnared another human being?
Someone better suited to our gifts. And to our mission, destroying you for rejecting us. From now on, we're poison to Peter Parker and Spider-Man. We're Venom!
This is how Venom would talk. But no, it's just Topher Grace acting like a douche nozzle.
We can find a way to settle this.
You're so right. I'm thinking humiliation. Kind of like how you humiliated me. Do you remember? Do you remember what you did to me?
There is nothing resembling Eddie Brock or Venom in this. Oh, and what was Venom's plan again? You know, after showing up an hour and 45 minutes in?
I want to kill the spider. You want to kill the spider. Together, he doesn't stand a chance.
Interested?
No. Sandman didn't want Spider-Man dead. At no point in this movie did they ever establish that Sandman wanted Spider-Man dead. So Venom's plan from the get-go should make no sense. But of course, the plot needs Sandman to want Spider-Man dead. So his plan goes along fine. Hey, to the geniuses writing this film, why didn't you have Venom seek the aid of someone who we know wants Spider-Man dead? Oh, gee, I don't know, Harry Osborn? Duh! Or how about their next phase? Kidnap Mary Jane. Yeah, because I haven't seen that done to death yet. Let's just do that. It's not like he should kidnap someone who he truly resents by now, someone he feels rejected by, like, oh, I don't know, Gwen Stacy? But duh! But here is the most insulting thing. The fans finally see Venom, or at least the most watered-down version of him imaginable, on screen for the first time. And instead of showing Venom, 90% of the time, he has his face peeled back to reveal Topher Grace. What a fucking joke. Now, here's the thing. I can't blame Sam Raimi for this. Entirely. He was forced to railroad this character into this movie when he clearly didn't want to. The reason he didn't want to is because he doesn't like Venom. He doesn't like the character. Raimi grew up on the Silver Age villains like Goblin, Sandman, Vulture, Doc Ock, and so forth, and so those were the villains he wanted to use. It's more than obvious watching this character that he is being represented by someone who doesn't like him. It's a spit in the face to the fans, but as much as I would love to hold Raimi's feet to the fire for this one, I'd rather blame the real enemy here. What's so strange about it, though, is that they railroaded in Gwen Stacy to give Eddie a better backstory, as they put it, when they could have just done what was in the comics and had something that was actually meaningful. And being that Raimi wanted Peter to see the humanity in the villains he faces, Eddie Brock's original backstory would have worked fine for that. But not with Sandman and New Goblin crowding the movie as well. If they had just gotten rid of Sandman entirely, they may have had something here. Or if they wanted to keep Sandman in, this should have been 2 movies, as Alvin Sargent had originally planned. But we'll talk about that in the number 1 spot.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
Yeah, and it makes a billion fanboys scream in terror as they die a little inside. Peter and the symbiote. First of all, the symbiote coming down on a meteor that just happened to land close to Peter Parker, bullshit. I can understand not wanting to go through the hassle of Secret Wars in an adaptation, as that whole thing would take about 3 movies to do it any justice. But here's an idea. Do what the 90s cartoon did. In that version, John Jameson brought the symbiote back with him from space. When Spider-Man saved him from the shuttle crash, it bonded with him. You guys set up that character in the previous movie, how about actually using him for something? That's actually why I figured he was in the last movie. I thought they were gonna be setting up Venom or Man-Wolf. But no, in a cheap screenwriting cop-out, the symbiote just lands on a random-ass meteor. What are the fucking odds? So about an hour into the film, we finally see the symbiote bond with Peter, or at least to his clothes, and this just turns him into a jazz-dancing, compulsive, irritating douche. It was at this point that I just said to myself, they have no idea how this thing works, do they? No idea. For those of you who don't know, it may shock and amaze you to discover that the symbiote is not fucking evil! It is an animal, driven by pure instinct. It has no basis of right and wrong. Its instinct is to survive, and it needs a host to do so. Now, if the person it bonds with is evil, it will enhance the evil nature of that person, which is why Carnage is such an evil entity. Now, the symbiote enhances aggression in its host as a survival mechanism, which you could say does happen in this, but it doesn't turn you into a complete asshole. It just makes you more aggressive. What the movie also fails to mention is why Peter enjoys being bonded with the symbiote. It enhances his strength, his agility, and his endurance. It becomes the equivalent of fucking crack to him. It's an addiction. It's like a drug. Which is why he has so much trouble taking it off and getting rid of it. They never addressed that in the film. Not once. It's just, hey, I have a black suit, I'm gonna be a douchebag now and dance around like I'm John fucking Travolta. And because they never address the addiction, we never see the personal struggle within Peter's mind as the symbiote slowly starts impairing his judgment. By the way, Alvin Sargent, that was it. That was the midpoint. That's your climax for your first film. The dream sequence should have been the climax of this movie, leading into a 4th movie with Venom as the main villain. I mean, the movie's friggin' tagline is "The greatest battle lies from within." Show us the battle lying from within! The whole sequence is one of the most dark and memorable moments in Spider-Man's mythos. Instead of wasting our time with Harry having amnesia, Brock being a worthless douche, and Sandman being a plot device, build up Eddie Brock the right way, make New Goblin the main villain, have Peter get the suit, and have Peter beat Harry within an inch of his life. Make that the moment where Peter realizes that this thing is making him worse, forcing him to try and take it off. Then, have the dream sequence, show him purging the suit from his body, and end your movie on this. If you had ended this film on that, we would have all been first online to see the next one. But no, we got everything spoon-fed, forced, and simplified to an insulting degree instead of something that could have been special. Oh, by the way, the symbiote bonding in this movie is also incredibly inconsistent. I mean, at the end, we see he clearly has trouble taking this thing off, but didn't he peel it off like a band-aid earlier? Yeah, be consistent. It helps, guys. But I think the most insulting thing about this is this line.
I've done terrible things too.
No! No, you haven't! You haven't done anything bad in this entire goddamn movie! Hitting Harry with a pumpkin bomb is justified. He tried to kill you twice. He was trying to kill you in that scene. It's called self-defense. Turning Brock in and getting him fired is completely justified. He lied and used one of your photos to make a fake one. He was dishonest, and I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure you would have turned him in for this, black suit or not. Okay, then you hit Mary Jane. But guess what, moron? It was an accident. You swung around and she just happened to be in the way. It's not like you sucker punched her when she was singing on stage. Peter, the only bad thing you've done in this entire movie is a John Travolta strut down 5th Avenue and what I can only assume is an outtake from Guys and Fucking Dolls. You have not done bad things in this movie. Go fuck yourself. In fact, I'll go a step further. According to this movie's logic, the guy he let go in the first movie didn't even kill Uncle Ben. So I guess you didn't do anything bad there either. So now, the whole point, the entire basis for you being Spider-Man due to your own responsibility and guilt is completely null and void. Fuck you! So that was Spider-Man 3. Oh God, I hate this movie. I'm sorry, this movie is terrible. Not just from an adaptation standpoint, but even more from just a film and writing standpoint. This is one of the worst written and structured films I've ever come across. Period. I can't believe that there are people out there who do like this movie. 63%, guys? Really? For this? You can sit there and say it's well shot until you're blue in the face. That does not justify this movie not making any goddamn sense, juggling random-ass characters that have no purpose, and simplifying its source material to such a disgusting degree. Some of the visuals do look nice, but unless you have a compelling narrative and strong characters to back up those visuals, they aren't going to matter. The very message of the film is supposed to be about forgiveness, and even that is so half-assed that I can't appreciate it. This movie blows. I can understand why it does. There was a serious conflict of vision making this film. Sam Raimi wanted shit his way, Avi Arad wanted shit his way, Sony wanted shit their way, and Alvin Sargent wanted shit his way. It was none of them being able to compromise that forced this film to be nothing more than a clusterfucked mess. Nothing works in this. The hero doesn't work, the acting doesn't work, the villains don't work, the incorporation of Venom is beyond forced, and even the score is massively inferior this time around. Overall rating, F. So, case in point, the next time someone tries to tell you that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the worst Spider-Man film out there, give him a nice smack across the face with a copy of this piece of shit and give him the damn what for. I'm done. Good night.
I've done terrible things.
I know you'll find a way to put it right. Hey, Parker. This could be the end of Spider-Man.
We have to forgive each other. Or everything we ever were will mean nothing.